I've got former North Dakota Governor Ed Schafer here with me. And Governor Schafer, a couple of days ago, I actually wrote on the blog about a new, I guess it's not a new issue at all. It's an issue that's been going on for quite a while, but it has to do with a bridge over the Little Missouri River, and in relation to the Teddy Roosevelt cabin in, obviously Teddy Roosevelt Park, important part of North Dakota's history, very scenic, very beautiful, very historically significant area. I was a little worried when I read some news. The great grandson of Theodore Roosevelt, Tweed Roosevelt, wants the area declared a national monument, to sort of make it difficult for this bridge to go in. Although, a lot of the local people arguing that they need this bridge. It's important for local commerce and transportation and things like that. And I kind of got the feeling that they were trying to sandbag that a little bit. And you emailed me, you disagreed with me a little bit. And your point was that, this bridge would have a significant impact on the cabin area and on this historic landmark. Explain for us a little bit your feelings on this.
Well, I think, the issue, Rob, is the Elkhorn Ranch, which is one of Theodore Roosevelt's ranches in the Badlands. And it's a piece of property that is between the north unit and the south unit of the park. And it is just a gorgeous, pristine area of North Dakota. Badlands, it's where Theodore Roosevelt sat on the porch of his house and looked over the Little Missouri River and wrote books and paragraphs and magazine articles about the beauty of nature. It's where he started thinking about conservation. They call it the cradle of conservation because Theodore Roosevelt was the first president who paid attention to conservation, and it was the first one actually who used this national monument opportunity that presidents have. So it's kind of an interesting area, and the reality is Billings County, the county in which this piece of property sits, has been trying to build a bridge across the Little Missouri River for years. And they need a bridge across the Little Missouri River. And at the time when they first started doing their work, when they first started this was 20 years ago, right? That's correct? Right. Exactly. And when they did, the piece of property that is now incorporated into the Elkhorn Ranch was in private hands. And the people that, own the property, I don't know what their view was on the bridge or not, but they basically looked at, they being Billings County, looked at putting a bridge and providing a better opportunity for people to cross the river without going so far and all that. Important piece. There are 4 alternatives for the sites on the bridge, and the one that Billings County likes the best is the one that cuts right across the very north edge of the Elkhorn Ranch property. And the concern there is they have to cut away the bank to get down to the river level to build a bridge. You'll have trucks shifting, going up and down on both sides of the river. You'll have gravel, dust, and things blown around, and it affects the view shed and the noise of that real quiet, pristine area.
Now, is it just the construction phase that there's a noise and view concern, or is it even after the bridge would be built?
No, it's after the bridge is going to be built, right? There is a concern that the constant truck traffic, and they're doing it to have access to well sites and development areas and things, and they're doing it for truck traffic to make lower and shorter routes that trucks have to take up in that area. So there will be constant traffic on that road, and it will be disruptive to this piece of property. When the piece of property was purchased in 2007, I believe, 2007, when this piece of property was purchased by the Forest Service, the U.S. Forest Service, the effort was to say, let's pick a different bridge location. Let's look at the one that's just directly north of that one, so that you're not going to be anywhere near the property. I think that it was my understanding that the state and the county came to some agreement to do that, and the state was going to, obviously the roads are a little farther to get up to the other bridge site and things. The state was going to contribute some money to get that other piece up there. to get the roads up there so the county wouldn't have an overburden of cost by picking the other site. Somewhere that agreement has disappeared and the county now is back to the original preferred site, which is the one that's right on the edge of the property.
Now, as I understand it, the original property owner, because you said the property was sold in 2007, but the original property owner has retained his mineral rights, I think is what I read in the reports, which is sort of complicating this issue because if I understand it right, the property owner's position is that, you know, he wants access to be able to get in there and develop the resources he has on his property, which he retains the rights to.
There is one of the agreements that we made when we put this whole thing together was to make sure that there's multiple use of this property. We want to make sure that we're not going to be blocking this out, making it some kind of a historical reference where you didn't have access, you couldn't use it. There are people that have mineral rights. There are 4 operating wells on the property. We want to make sure that all of that stayed, because multiple use of the property, of course, is what Theodore Roosevelt was all about. He loved the natural resources, loved conservation, but he loved also to to hunt and fish and have access to the property and use it, and so that was kind of in keeping with that Teddy Roosevelt style. The people that have mineral rights, the original owners, did keep the mineral rights, and the person from Montana who now wants to explore this gravel pit had 27% of the surface mineral rights in that area. It was a piece that the Forest Service missed when they made the purchase. Otherwise, they could have dealt with it then, but unfortunately, it just didn't come off until after the sale was made.
Now, if I understand it correctly, there's actually been a new development even since the original news broke, and I guess the news that broke was that they were starting to go ahead with some public hearings for building the bridge in this location, Billings County. But there's even some more news where the National Trust for Historic Preservation is going to be recognizing what they're calling the threat to this area by listing Elkhorn Ranch as one of America's 11 most endangered historic places of 2012. What does that mean for this issue?
Well, that's a bad thing for this issue, Rob. It tells us that there are people out there that want to shut this property down, contain it, put fences around it, not be able to use it, don't have access to it. And I can tell you from things that get on the National Historic Registry, this is not a good idea. We have several buildings in Medora, for instance, that are on the National Historic Registry, and to change an elbow pipe in the furnace vent, you have to do an environmental impact study and all this engineering and make applications. It'll cost you billions of dollars and all kinds of kinds to do just simple repairs on these things because they're so restricted. This is not a good idea. It's not in keeping with the agreements that were made when we purchased this property. And I'm very much opposed to putting this on the National Historic Registry.
Now, how do we solve this? Because obviously there's got to be a way to balance, the transportation needs for the area, and the commerce, the mineral rights of the landowners who want to be able to get in there and develop the resources that are there, and then of course the the historic nature and the beauty of the area as well. How do we balance all those things? What's the solution?
Well, I think the solution is we have to somehow move the county to a different site on this bridge. There were 4 alternative sites that were put in place that the environmental impact studies have been done on. The problem is the county, of course, has spent a ton of money on the engineering studies and putting the paperwork together and the applications. And, they're, of course, sitting there looking, geez, if they move the bridge, we got to spend a ton of more money. Kind of thing. So we'll have to figure that out. I like the idea that the state in the past has been willing to step up and say, well, if you have a little farther to go and a little stronger road expense to put on the table, we'll help you out with that. We spend a lot of money on roads in Western North Dakota development especially, and maybe we can get the state to step up a little bit here and help the county out. And I think mostly we have to get the people behind the project to understand that this will impact a very pristine and beautiful area in the state of North Dakota that I think should be preserved for the use of all. And in doing so, there's going to be some impact on the county. The preferred site is not the site to pick, in my opinion. And we have to get this sorted out. But I think if people get behind it and say, we want to serve this property, we want to preserve this property, we want to keep it pristine and good and nice and clean, let's look at that other site, then we can start figuring out solutions of how we can get the county in a better financial position to take care of it, and see if we can get the state involved. Everybody's been working on this project, like you say, for 20 years. It's time to come to some common sense final solution on it, because we never get to the final solution because it keeps bouncing around.
Governor, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Rob. Good to be with you.